Yeah, I think my favorite, I'm really trying to come down on it. I think it might be, I'm going to say Just Dance.
Wow.
I think I'm going to say Just Dance.
That's a very Demar answer. I'm not surprised.
I like pop songs, okay? That's fine. That's allowed.
I like pop songs too, man.
Is that illegal? Is that legal?
It's not a crime. It's not a crime. Good afternoon, beautiful people. This is another episode of Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of the album, and how that album fits into the context of that artist's career. For everyone watching on YouTube, make sure you like this video, subscribe to us, and leave us a comment. Let us know how wrong we always are. My name is Adriel Smiley, a.k.a. AdrielSmiley.com, a.k.a. Adriel Smiley Official, a.k.a. The Godfather. We're here with His Royal Highness, a.k.a. The Bunny, a.k.a. No Longer a Munch, King Grant.
What's happening, people? We're back. Album Mode, suited and booted. This time, we're reviewing the great Lady Gaga and her latest album, Mayhem.
How often do you throw the great in there? That's a new one.
I would consider Lady Gaga one of the greats.
No, I would agree with you, but you just haven't thrown that in there for a lot of other greats.
Oh.
So I'm just wondering what made it so different this time.
I usually do late. Well, sometimes it's like late and great.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Miller, I believe, got that.
Yeah.
But there's many greats that we've done. Drake, Kendrick, Nas.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely said the great. I
was going to say, I think maybe because it's a white woman, you brought out the great.
No. Nas was definitely getting the great.
Good save. I like how you landed that. Okay.
So there are plenty greats out there, and I would say Lady Gaga is one of them. I think that her impact in the early 2010s, and then in the movies, and then now is coming back around to her music. It's looking like a big deal right now. So Lady Gaga, Mayhem. How did you feel coming into this project?
I haven't really been tapped into Lady Gaga in more than a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was a fan of her early work, of course, in the, I guess, late 2000s. 08 was her debut album, Fame. And I think that I knew that she was still doing well, but getting ready for this project, for this review, I realized, she has been killing it even more than I realized.
Yeah.
She is second in terms of monthly listeners in all of Spotify. But I think I want to do a little go back in time, because we haven't reviewed any of her music on this podcast. She's kind of not done the traditional solo album in a long time. Her last album, Harley Quinn, in 2024, and then before that with Love for Sale with Tony Bennett in 2021. The early part of her career, hugely successful. Born This Way, her second full-length album, more than 1 million copies first week. Is that something that happens in this day and age?
No.
Not really a thing. And then I would say the last of that like electronic dance infused pop sound was Art Pop in 2013. And then that's when it changed. Cheek to Cheek with Tony Bennett came in 2014. And then Joanne in 2016 was more of a soft rock album. Mm-hmm. And after that, it kind of was a different era for Gaga. So we can split into two halves.
Okay.
We can say 07 to about 2013, and then 14 to present. Because I think once that Tony Bennett album came out, that was the start of what we have now.
I think that the latest era of Lady Gaga starts with A Star Is Born.
Interesting.
A Star Is Born, it was just like, to me, that was like a phase shift for her, where now she is, I don't want to say legacy artist, but low-key a legacy artist, because she went from being just a musician, a great musician,
mm-hmm.
to one that acts, right?
But that wasn't her. I was going to say, I see the correlation there, because we got to talk about her acting. That's a big part of who she is as an artist now. But her in American Horror Story was really the start of her acting. It's not as big as A Star Is Born, a feature film different from a hit TV show, but for fans of that show, she had pretty big roles in that show in 2015, 2016, which is 2-3 years before A Star Is Born. Mm-hmm. So I think we got to give the credit to maybe American Horror Story.
Okay.
Because I think she doesn't get A Star Is Born if not for American Horror Story. Mm-hmm. And I think that show, again, not as popular as A Star Is Born, but definitely respected in terms of the actual quality of the program.
It's a real show.
Yeah, I think you're right. The acting is kind of what changed this whole era. But why I say to split them into the two is because once she got with Tony Bennett, everything changed. it was the whole dance, electro pop sound took a huge, huge backseat.
Mhm.
And as that changed, all the art changed. Now, before we get into kind of your favorite Lady Gaga song, Lady Gaga moments, she's breaking records basically all the time, every time. First woman to win an Academy Award, BAFTA, Golden Globe, and Grammy Award all in 1 year.
That's what I'm saying. And you're like, oh, why are you calling her the great? I'm like, Lady Gaga's serious out here.
I didn't say she wasn't great. I just said you don't give that out to a lot of people.
Okay.
So I thought, she wasn't the only one that is deserving. But
I agree.
Definitely deserving. A living legend, a legacy act, still putting out great music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that her legacy. Well, actually, I'll leave the legacy talk till the end. I think, but I think that this latest shift has been really interesting because her music for a while was kind of like I want to say started to crystallize and become like aged and like antiquated.
Yeah,
and for me, it was until A Star Is Born came out where I'm like, okay, we're still doing a Lady Gaga thing here.
Mm-hmm.
She still exists. She's still prominent. She's still important. And then it came to this album, Mayhem, where I didn't even realize when the song with her and Bruno Mars came out, Die With a Smile.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was just like a one-off. Sometimes artists do one-offs like that. So I thought it was just like a Bruno Mars, Lady Gaga. One time they were just in the studio together and they hit a kind of vibe, and then this song came out and was immensely popular.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment it came out, it was super popular.
Yeah,
and I loved it. I love that track. Catch It At My Wedding, 1,000%.
Okay.
Catch It At My Wedding. It will be played. And I was like, okay, that was sick. And I was like, okay, she still got a little motion, right? And then this album was starting to come up on the horizon. I'm like, oh, there's actually some real stuff, like we're building towards something serious happening here.
Yeah.
So that's where I was leading with Mayhem, going into it with Mayhem, where I'm like, okay, I would say we're on a little bit of a nadir musically, but we had the movie, fantastic. Then we had the single, surprisingly very good. So I had genuine optimism for Mayhem.
I like that you mentioned that because I think this is such a rare occurrence when an artist this popular is almost in their own lane in a sense. Because the single of Bruno Mars was not the first single. Disease came out in 2024.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like to think of an artist this big having singles that we're unaware of, or when you hear the bigger single, you're like, this is a one-off.
Yeah.
It's like an artist this big, it should be clear. It's like, okay, we heard Disease, then we heard Die With a Smile, then Abracadabra comes next. We're leading up to something, but I think like this is just a rare occurrence where they're not seen as much as a musician anymore, because I think that is where we're at with Lady Gaga, which is an interesting place to be. I don't think we've had this with an artist like her before. Have we, where it's like they're not seen as much as a musician, even though they are making music on a pretty consistent basis.
Yeah.
They have a lot of great albums. They're still immensely popular for their music, but it feels like they're not seen as a musician first.
Yeah, I think that she always had that persona out, like the larger than life persona, the meat dress, the crazy runway, just like dress, any dress, like try to think of anything that should not be constructed into a dress. She was figuring out a way to put it together to wear a dress on a red carpet. So she always had that larger than life persona. And then when that and the music was happening, we're like, oh, Madonna 2.0. Remember that?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? You don't remember people calling her Madonna 2.0?
I missed that completely.
Okay, well, at that time, it was like, oh, Madonna 2.0 is happening. And then we got like a slowdown. I was like, oh, I guess she's kind of just over it, right? And that's where it kind of felt. I think that's what happened is like, oh, it just feels like she's over it. The music isn't as good anymore. She's doing a movie. She's doing TV. I guess she's just over it now.
I think this is one where I'm disconnected in that thought about her, because to me, she's not in movies enough for me to think of her like that. Like, Star Is Born was such a big movie. I think everyone just like attached that because I guess they hadn't been tapped in with her. Recently, Joanne was not as big of an album, even though it was only 2 years before.
Yeah.
People really weren't tapped in with her since 2013 with Art Pop. So that's 5 years where it's like, okay, we haven't really heard from her. We're not checking for her and Tony Bennett. We're not checking for Joanne.
Yeah.
What's she up to? And again, American Horror Story was still a niche audience. But to me, I'm like, and maybe this is a hip hop thing because a lot of hip hop artists do the crossover.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to me, she's not even frequent enough in her acting roles when you think of her as an actor. I think A Star Is Born was such a good, role that everyone's like, oh my goodness, like she's arrived. But again, she had great roles in American Horror Story.
Yeah.
She had proved that she could act.
She had Chromatica too, which was in 2020, which was around the pandemic era.
Yeah.
Which it was pandemic era. So that was like a pandemic album.
Yep. Yeah.
But I didn't feel. I guess nobody could be out. Literally, nobody was outside.
But I think what you said about looking at her as an actress is a part of that.
Yeah.
Because she, acted after that in House of Gucci in 2021. But I think A Star Is Born, everyone just kind of looked at, and it's like, I can't remember a time when just one role from a musician makes you an actress all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember that happening. Like, I think about Beyonce when she was in Dreamgirls, and that was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wasn't like, you don't make music anymore.
Yeah, I think with Lady Gaga, because she was so huge, so larger than life. I really want, like, the persona, like, the presentation of her was so enormous. And then her music was also enormous on top of it, that when those things started to recede, that's why, to me, it just framed it as she was over it. That's the thing.
Yeah,
that's
and
where it goes.
I agree with you. And I want to talk about some of my favorite songs from her in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what I want to focus on in terms of this being, it feels like a resurgence for her musically.
Yeah, I agree.
Because she was putting on music during all these times.
I know.
And so it's like, us making this one role from her being like, she's an actress now. It's like, that's almost disrespectful to her music that was still coming out, because you have Joanne before A Star Is Born, and you have Chromatica after A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like she didn't stop making music. Y'all just stopped caring.
Yeah, Chromatica was also 5 years ago. I keep telling people, 2020 was 5 years ago, guys.
Crazy.
You guys need to internalize that was a while ago.
But she's released 2 albums since then. So it's like, that's a big part of it, where it's like, you have Love for Sale in 2021. You have Harley Quinn in 2024.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, this is such a weird situation where we're almost ignoring her musical talents in like up close.
Yeah.
Like, this is such a unique thing. I can't, like, in the comments, let us know, but I can't remember a time where someone is putting on music consistently and we're ignoring it. But they're still, again, number 2 in all of Spotify and monthly listeners.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just us.
Yeah, maybe
it's
we're
us.
just,
But I think
different demo.
It's very unique, because I think that, in other genres, people act and do things all the time where it's like, it's not as if we don't, because Justin Timberlake, he had his bit into acting. His music wasn't as popular during those times. Obviously, he's not as good of an actress as Lady Gaga. That's easy to say, but it wasn't as if it's like, oh, he's done with making music now. So very, very interesting that somehow we came to that conclusion with her. My favorite song from her, and obviously I got to go back because I have not been tapped in over a decade. But the one song that I always used to love, and I'm gonna say it still bangs, because Lady Gaga is probably one of the MVPs of karaoke, if you're doing karaoke these days.
Facts.
Is actually Paparazzi. Poker Face, I think, is the one that I hear the most. But Paparazzi, I remember hearing that back in the day and saying, oh, she got something. She gonna be here for a while. But the song from this album, The Fame, that really took me back in time was Just Dance, with her and Kobe O'Donis. That one still bangs, but Kobe O'Donis, shout out to him wherever he's at. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, I think my favorite, I'm really trying to come down on it. I think it might be, I'm going to say Just Dance.
Wow.
I think I'm going to say Just Dance.
That's a very Demar answer. I'm not surprised.
I like pop songs, okay? That's fine. That's allowed.
I like pop songs too, man.
Is that illegal? Is that legal?
It's not a crime. It's not a crime.
I think that Bad Romance is cool too. It's cool. But I think, I like a pop song. And I feel
nothing wrong with that.
And I feel like that was one of the songs, even though she has massive hit songs, Just Dance felt like a very, 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 very early what was it, 2010s or 20 was it?
It was 08, I think.
08.
Yeah.
So that is template of 08 pop song. That's where so much shit is built on top of Just Dance. So I love that song. I could probably sing that song from memory straight up.
I'm telling you, she's a karaoke champion.
Yeah. So I think that song's amazing. We have our a good way to frame how we view Lady Gaga is the best songs were the early songs, the first songs,
Yeah.
right? And now we're in the latest version of her, which I feel like this album, I would say, deviates like a pretty large amount from the beginning. Not so much where she's like making grunge music or something like that, but you could definitely sense that there's like a pretty significant difference in how she's viewing her music now than she did in the past.
Interesting. I would actually disagree with that. I feel like this feels like more of a return to her roots, just modernized.
Yeah.
Like, I think this, like, to me, she's a template of a lot what like pop became over the next decade. We don't give her that credit as much. There are other pop stars who had a longer runway at the top than she did. But I think what she did is what we see a lot of artists trying to replicate going forward. Even talk about last week with Lisa. Like,
yeah, Lisa's trying to do a Lady Gaga. She's trying to.
Lisa tried to make this album. Like, let's be like, this is an album Lisa tried to make. So I think that she went back to her roots, but in a modern way. Two things off the top. I want to say this whole album is missing a Charlie XCX feature.
Yeah.
Abracadabra is a song that I thought of that would fit the most.
Yep.
Also was a single. I think a Bruno Mars, Lady Gaga feature went to the top.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga, Charlie XCX could have done the same thing.
It could have done the same thing, but also I don't think the vision, first of all, nobody really thought Charlie XCX was going to do what she did last year. Like, I thought it was going to be good, but we didn't think Brat Summer is like going to be a thing.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So I think that I could forgive her a little bit for not seeing that, but that also shows me not fully tapped in with your scene. You're not seeing everything. You're seeing the way a Drake does. Drake sees everything. Drake is like fucking the Eye of Sauron.
Lady Gaga, though, I think is a bit past that. Like, she has accepted her legacy status in a way where it's, I don't need to reach down and through for everybody else. Like, I'm here and on my own. Yeah, is more than enough.
I'm surprised. You know, I was listening through this. The Weeknd would have been good for this. I think a lot of the songs. I feel like could have had him on it. Songs like even Love Drug. Yeah. You know, Love Drug could have had him. I'm trying to think. Disease, maybe? Yep. Disease probably could have had him on it.
How Bad Do You Want Me is the one I really think about.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of songs where I'm like, oh, you know what? The latest version of The Weeknd, it could have existed on this in some way. But she decided to go it mostly alone, which is something that I'm surprised by. Just because I feel like we live in such a collaborative time when it comes to music, pop music especially, that I'm like, oh wow, she just went by herself.
I'm actually not surprised. I just don't see that for an artist like her. I think of it in her type of pop music, and Charlie XCX, you can put that in this boat too. What are the Charlie XCX features? Like, they're not really there. It's like she doesn't need them. Yeah. And the one song that has a feature is basically a Bruno Mars song. Yeah. That Lady Gaga is on. That's how it feels. So a lot of these songs is like she doesn't need someone else to make this song. These are songs that she can make on her own with her energy. Disease made my favorite intro of the year so far.
Yeah, I like Disease a lot.
Disease, I think, is such a strong, powerful record. And the way the keys start with that like strong, the way the keys start before and then leading into the strong bass and synth combo, it is such like I don't want to say a jump scare, but it's just so hard hitting. It's like, okay, we've arrived. Yeah. Something is about to go down.
You know what I just thought when you said that? You know who would have killed, especially and on Disease? Yeet. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yeet would destroy on an album like. But I get, see, that's what I'm talking about, where I feel like she doesn't have the vision like that. I think maybe she just views her music like, this is my art, my music, this is my space, my world. But I think a more like forward thinking type of artist, and the reason why I bring up Drake is always looking for like the next
what's coming up.
What's coming up. And Drake has a Yeet feature on one of his songs. And I think that this Disease is a good, I mean, I actually think literally any song in like the top half of this album you could have just thrown Yeet on the track. Just like, here's the production, just do something with it and then send it back to me.
I think he would have made the song worse. Like, no, I ultimately think that she made the right choice in not having any of these features on here, because I think that what she does vocally on this project with her voice and her projection there is none of the people we named are gonna match that. Like we've mentioned a lot of people, no one is gonna match that energy.
Yeah, but she's like she's one of the best singers right now.
No,
so.
for sure. But I think like that makes the song what it is why like she has that one song on Bruno Mars. They're both powerhouses vocally.
Yeah.
So you get that energy across the whole record. Having someone like Yeet or Charlie XCX even can't hang vocally the way she can and do all those different things with her voice, it's like the song gets a little bit dimmer.
Okay.
So I think a song like Disease in particular, it's like that song is so hard hitting and it's a song that you kind of want to scream like as you sing along because of what she's doing. So I think she made the right choice not having features on here, which I don't usually say, but I don't see a song on here where someone would have matched her energy. I even think someone like The Weeknd, who is vocally very talented, it doesn't have the power in his voice that she does. So I think that you're and maybe that's a different song. It's not saying it's not as good, it's just different in the type of record it is, but she did a great job by, doing all of this on her own.
Yeah, I think that I still think that the construction of the songs are really, really strong. I want to bring up I like a lot of songs. I like a lot of songs for a very strong reason. I would say Perfect Celebrity, I think, is one of those where you're kind of seeing her electronic version of herself and like the power pop version of herself, like bang together in a good way, where you're getting these really, like, I think it's almost like she's trying to mesh like an 80s style of production with the compressed drums and the synths leading into these actual rock breakdowns, basically. Yeah. And I think that Perfect Celebrity is a good example of that, where she has like this urgency to her music now versus when I'm thinking at the very, very beginning, you were kind of existing in it, but like this is like she wants transitions. She wants...
It's driving.
Yeah, it's driving. She wants transitions. She wants progressions. Like that's part of the music that she really, really, really wants now. Perfect Celebrity is a great example because between the verse and the hook is like, the verses is like it's much more calm. She has these, synths building in the background. It's kind of empty. And then when the hook comes in or the chorus comes in, then it's like again, she's like has a band, right, that she's trying to do everything with. So I think that that's a cool aspect where you're seeing two parts of her coming together. And also a third part where it's like, now it's retro. Now we're doing throwback, lots of the 80s throwback stuff.
It reminds me of Miley Cyrus's album that we reviewed a little while ago.
That's what I was thinking too. When she was playing this song, or when I was listening to the song, I'm like, oh, is Miley Cyrus on this? Because I thought her voice sounded like Miley Cyrus's.
Yeah, Endless Summer Vacation in 2023, which feels like, I can't believe it's 2023 the album came out. But I feel like Gaga did a much better job of it. And I think that I can now see even more what Miley was going for and why she even tried that, because Miley has some of that power in her voice that Gaga has as well. But I think this is a kind of sound that my favorite thing about this project is how she executed all this production-wise. I think we see albums where we can see what you're trying to do. We can see the vision. We understand what the plan is. I think that was a lot of Lisa last week, where we get where you're going with this. We can see the road you're trying to walk down. Did you make it to the end of it? Maybe not.
No.
But we can see it. I think for Gaga on a bunch of this is we see where she's going, and she won the marathon in record time. Like she made it to the end where she's trying to go. Perfect Celebrity is probably my favorite song on this project.
Yeah,
so
me
I'm happy
too.
that you mentioned
Perfect Celebrity.
Killa, that was one where I was kind of wary at first. I'm like, is this gonna sound too different from the album? It is the most different song I do think in a way. But I actually like it. I'm surprised it wasn't a single. But I actually do like it. It does give more of that like kind of retro 80s pop vibe, like almost that transition phase where disco was ending and real synth pop was beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of what it sounds like to me. But that was one where I was like, okay, it's definitely different, but I like it.
Yeah, I like that song too. I think that she, on this album, Mayhem, she was really relying on that 80s aesthetic. So like the two songs we mentioned, Don't Call It Tonight, Shadow of a Man, I think is also like that too.
Yeah.
So I think that the 80s aesthetic, I would say this about the 80s. They really just like nailed a sound, and like everybody, we're now literally 45 years into the future, and people are still mining it and still able to draw things out of it. And I think, for a song like Don't Call Tonight is another clear example. Really, very, I don't know how else it's like watching like the Weather Channel, like the 80s music that plays on the Weather Channel. But then it develops with a couple of guitar solos. On this album.
And the drum pattern as well.
Yeah, so 80s, very 80s inspired. But she's making it work for herself. I never felt like she just kind of got lost in the 80s space. But definitely super 80s influenced.
And even on Don't Call Tonight as well, what she does with her voice, that crescendo when the chorus comes in, that's something we don't even see as much vocally in pop, but in general in music, where an artist is really going to sell out for the chorus and sing it a whole different way. It's like you said, it's a little bit more accentuated, but we don't see them go that hard. A bunch of songs on here, she goes hard when that chorus comes.
Yeah. There are a couple of songs, I'm going to be honest with you, production-wise. Didn't love it.
Let's hear it.
Blade of Grass.
How did I know you were going to say Blade of Grass?
Blade of Grass. Blade of Grass, I think, exists on a different album, and it makes sense. Like, throw it on a Joanne, right? On this album, I think it slows down so much of what is happening leading into it. Like, we got the blood pumping, we're dancing, and we're like, we're doing aerobics because it's fucking yeah. And then Blade of Grass is like, hang on a second, let me get the piano real quick. I love the piano. Piano's my favorite instrument. I just like, why are we slowing everything down? Because the song after that is Die With a Smile with Bruno Mars. That is piano based too, but I still felt like we were moving. I still felt like some sort of pace that matches the previous parts of the album.
I actually disagree with you. I think Blade of Grass is in the perfect spot here. You are right that it could be on a whole different project. Like, that is correct. But I think it's in the right place on this project because anywhere else on this album, it would be very much out of place. And I think it is kind of the cool down. It's like when you just finish off the treadmill and it doesn't stop, but it slows down. That's what Blade of Grass is.
Going at one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Blade of Grass is at the end of this project. Slows you down. And then Die With a Smile is like an outro that is still a bit slower, but without being sleepy or too tired. So I think Blade of Grass being where it is on the project is actually the perfect place for it.
Okay.
I want to talk about some of the song structure on here before we get into lyrics, because I think this is almost like a master class in songwriting structure all over this project.
Okay.
And there's one thing that's very noticeable on here that I think, any songwriter listening to this take notice of. On this project, the chorus is some of the longest sections of each song.
Which song?
Every song.
Okay.
basically every song.
Hold on a second.
The verses are shorter than the chorus.
Yeah.
And we talked about her having the crescendo for a lot of these choruses. That's not any secret. And two of the, formats I've seen on here that I want to highlight is one where she goes refrain, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then it repeats. And then a couple songs she goes verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then repeats, bridge at the end, chorus again. Now, this is almost a basic pop formula,
right,
in a sense. But what she creates is having the chorus being the highest point of the song in a way that other songs don't really have. And I think she does such a great job of that because a lot of these choruses are well written. We like some of her writing on these choruses.
Yeah.
But the song is already, pumping and energy. But when it gets to the chorus, it's like somehow even more energy. And for the records to have such a, upbeat tempo to a lot of them, you kind of think, how is she going to have this be even more up-tempo when it comes to the chorus? And I think the song structure is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Where you have, again, the verse, the pre-chorus, and then the chorus. So I think that what makes a lot of this project, as listenable as it is. Because to keep such a tempo with a lot of the records on here and have it be as listenable as it is tough to do. But again, the song structure on this project, very impressive.
Yeah, a good example of this is Perfect Celebrity. We were talking about. First of all, I think this is my favorite. This is my favorite song on the album.
Yeah.
And I love the writing on it too, where, pick a verse. Let's do verse 2. Yeah, let's do verse 2. You could do any verse, but this song is really about her being, perfect celebrity, but also like being mined to be the perfect, like you're the celebrity that people are tapping into to like extract value out of, right? And that's why she's the perfect celebrity. So in this verse 2, I look so hungry, but I look so good. Tap in my vein, suck on my diamond blood. Choke on the fame, hope it gets you high. Sit in the front row, watch the princess die. Right? I've become a notorious being. Find my clone, she's asleep on the ceiling. Now can't get me down. You love to hate me. I'm the perfect celebrity. And then look, so I just did the verse, pre-chorus, and then this is the chorus. She's like, so rip off my face in this photograph, perfect celebrity. You make me money, I'll make you laugh. Perfect celebrity. Show me you're pretty and I'll show you mine. You love to hate me. I'm the perfect celebrity, right? I love that specific part where she's like, you love to hate me. The way she drags the words. I just love that. I love that sequence so much. But like I said in verse 2, is like, I look so good. I look so hungry, but I look so good. Like, when you're a celebrity, like celebrities often go through, I don't want to say often. Some celebrities have eating disorders, right? And she is mentioning that there, tap on my veins, suck my diamond blood, again, being, like I mentioned, being mined for your fame, and then choke on the fame, hope it gets you high. So, and then sit in the front row, watch the princess die. Like, yo. So I really like the way that she is framing celebrity in this really dark and just like, it kind of like this really fucking sucks type of way. Because that's something that you sometimes get from artists, but you don't get it put as vividly. And the imagery is really good. Like, tap on my veins, suck on my diamond blood. That's pretty crazy.
That you had basically the same lyrics. I had verse 1 on Perfect Celebrity. You had verse 2. So I think
that's what I said. Pick a verse.
So I'm not even gonna go into that part of my lyrics, but I wanted to mention one thing on Perfect Celebrity because I think she's been a celebrity for so long.
Yeah,
and gone into waves of it where she was almost doing kind of a Weeknd thing at the beginning where we weren't properly seeing her face. Her visage wasn't clear. It was like different looks all the time. Kind of always obstructing. Almost similar to Sia in a sense, where we never really saw her. And then we kind of really saw what she looked like. And then over the past, I guess, last 10 years or so, we don't see her as frequently. Like, we don't really, she's not someone who we see as often.
Yeah.
The celebrity is still there, and we have kind of this image in our head of who she is. But I think her doing this song, Perfect Celebrity, is she's one of the most perfect people to do this song, I think. So that's when I talked about all these songs like only she can do, even down to the lyrics.
Yeah.
This is a song where it's like, she's the one for this song. This is not a song that someone else who's also very popular is going to do. I don't like, this is not a song Drake, I think, could do.
No.
Drake is a very different type of celebrity than she is.
Yeah, it's like her and like Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, Michael Jackson, if he was still alive, could make but Michael Jackson would never make a song like that. That's as serious.
Yeah.
Speaking of, well, I don't want to, there's more Michael Jackson to be mentioned on this album, but continue.
Yeah, I think that's something about this project lyrically, because that was my main set of lyrics, so I'm not going to bring up any more lyrics. But I think this captures what she does lyrically on this project, that there's so many things that it's just for her. And that's my favorite thing about musicians, is when they make songs only they can make. As people, we're all different. We have all our different intersections that make us unique. And this is a part in this project where I said, yeah, this is not something that you're seeing from everyone else, because I think that what she's done in terms of celebrity, I don't think we've seen before, because she's probably less visible than she's ever been before, but is definitely more popular than she's ever been before.
Right.
And I think that those two is very rare. And I actually want to bring up your boy, because I think it's what he's trying to do, The Weeknd. I think this is what he's actually going for, to try to take this part of his career, going into film, being more of a movie star. And his music it's popular. You listen to it or you don't.
Yeah.
But you don't need me to be on Instagram or TikTok all the time and see me to have the music sell. So I think she's probably executed that the best of any artist in this modern era.
Yeah. I was trying to think for a brief second.
Yeah.
I think
I think she has.
Yeah.
Who else would that be? Like,
I think the only other person I can even really think of who is like moderately successful in this is like Dominic Fike, but that's kind of it, and that's not even
close.
Yeah, it's not even close.
I was like, you.
I'm trying to
Like what?
I'm trying
Okay, the other example I was thinking of, Dominic Fike is a crazy one to name. Is Ariana Grande, because she's also in film.
What movie was she in?
Wasn't she in Wicked?
Oh yeah, I did not watch that.
No, I haven't seen it either. But I was like, no, the way you questioned it, I was like, did I miss? Like,
No,
I was like, what, did I make that up?
I was not watching Wicked, but I was watching Euphoria.
For sure, but
Hello,
Dominic Fike's role in Euphoria. You're the only one who's so hype about it. Like, you're the only one who cares about his role in Euphoria.
Hello,
You care about it more than he did.
Season 3 coming out
soon-ish. But I think Ariana Grande in Wicked, we're gonna see how that. That's the movie that came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna see in real time how that changes. I think about SZA making her film debut over the past few months.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's something there, because still to this day, movie fame is still the biggest fame.
Ooh,
no matter the country. It's the truth. Movie fame is still the biggest fame. More people are going to see movies or hear about movies than listen to music. And music doesn't come with a face. So I think that there's almost something there with these artists trying to get into movies where I can keep my fame at such a high level by being in these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And my music will still sell without me having to do all the physical promo or be in the limelight the same way it is to sell music. So I'm interested to see how that goes going forward. Again, the only two I could think of on this level are SZA and Ariana Grande. This is something that kind of we've said we want Drake to do, because I think Drake is the actual actor out of all this group.
Actually can act like legit.
You know, it's funny how many people have dropped out of high school to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not a thing people do. And that's what Drake did.
Yeah.
And ended up where he is. So Drake feels like he's, in the right place, something like this.
Yeah, he never made that transition, which is so odd.
Yeah, and I think maybe he probably doesn't have the career he has. If he does, he's going to be looked at differently.
Yeah.
Because at this point, he's probably almost too famous to play certain roles.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Because I'm like, maybe in the past 3 years or so, because I'm like, we could have just not had the past 3 years of Drake albums, just respectfully. We could have lived without it.
Okay.
And he could have been trying to make a film, TV show, or something like that. Because everybody, even The Weeknd, had a TV show.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it's not outside of his cohort's purview.
And I got to say, Drake as an executive producer, knocking it out of the park.
Yes.
So I can't imagine what would happen if he put himself into a role, because Euphoria, Top Boy.
Yeah. Those are big too.
He's making great choices.
Yeah.
He's making great choices. So I just brought that up because I think she is the queen of that, of still becoming more and more famous, but being quote unquote less visible, at least online. So I want to know if you have any more lyrics. I want to talk about her career in a bit, because you mentioned Legacy earlier, and I know you got something big to say about that.
Yeah, I think lyrics, not so much. I think that one thing I do want to mention, I think that her lyrics are really good. I think even a song like Zombie Boy, when she's describing one of her friends, and, just like the nickname, first of all, having the nickname Zombie Boy is like actually so funny to me. Just like, how does one obtain a nickname, Zombie Boy?
Crazy.
But, to describe, he's like an inspiring person. It's like, basically like a celebratory song of him. I thought that was cool too. I will say, I like a lot of the songs, a lot of the lyrics, song structure you already talked about, so I didn't really want to harp on it. I want to say Abracadabra. Abracadabra is such a confounding song, because I love everything except for the hook. I love everything except for the hook.
I'm with you.
It's actually, I can't really think of a song that makes me feel that way, but that abracadabra, like, I'm like, bro, this is like not good. But the part right before it is amazing. Like a poem, like this is a pre-chorus. Listen to just like the lyrics in the pre-chorus. Like a poem said by a lady in red, you hear the last few words of your life with a haunting dance. Now you're both in a trance. It's time to cast your spell on the night. That is so like poetic, so dark and poetic, and then you get this Abracadabra. I'm like, whoa, man! Like we couldn't come up with something. We could have just omitted that. I actually think that song could have just omitted that and like just kept the rest of the song, and it actually would have been perfect.
I didn't like it either, but I tried to like it more, and I felt better about it when I realized it reminded me of Bad Romance.
Yeah.
And I said, when Bad Romance came out, I kind of wasn't feeling it at first, and then it grew on me. So maybe this is something like that, because it was giving a little bit of Bad Romance.
Oh, one more thing, because we were talking about songs that remind us of other songs. Zombie Boy, a little hollaback girl at the beginning. Just at the very, very beginning, I felt a little Gwen Stefani hollaback girl. It's only at the beginning, because the rest of the song is so shiny and very 80s synth pop rock.
Yeah, the intro definitely is giving hollaback girl.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that because I was like, I had it in my notes. I'm like, whoa, that's weird, like weird interlude or intro with hollaback girl.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. To me, this is ultimately a win for her career, because this is an album that we've seen many artists try to make over the past 3 or 4 years, whether it's make the album in full or take attempts at some of these songs. This is probably the first time we can say for a pop album, someone trying to make an album like this, that they did it correctly.
Right.
Charlie XCX, we are big fans of that project, but that was almost the predecessor to what everyone was trying to do in terms of that electronic sound, and just taking it all the way left. This is more of a traditional, in a sense, electronic pop, 80s inspired sound that a lot of people were trying at many points, but Gaga's the only one that did it correctly. I think also this reestablishes her as a musician in a way that her past albums did not, because this is not their first album in a long time. She's been putting out music this whole time.
Yeah.
And so I think this reestablishes her as an artist in a way that I guess her last albums were not able to. And maybe there's a tour coming. Fingers crossed. I haven't seen anything in my email, but I feel like a tour coming would be great. A Gaga tour, the prices I feel like would just be out the asshole.
Yeah.
So
it would be crazy.
that's a whole different talk right there. But I do think for her career, this is absolutely a win.
Yeah, me too. I think that when you have the movie career, and then you're leading up to actually good music afterwards, it can only be a plus, because now you got a belt in 2 classes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that she had the music belt, and I would say she lost it. But then she picked up the film belt, out here winning legitimate awards. And then we were like, okay, she has the film belt. And then I'm like, when is the music belt? Or did we just switch classes? So we just went from flyweight to featherweight or whatever. And then she's like, actually, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to flyweight. And I'm coming back strong. So I think that it's good for her, because now it's like, now she can kind of do whatever in both mediums. And we're like, okay, here we go. You know, I'm ready for the next Lady Gaga project. I think people who are fans of Chromatica are like, oh, of course. I mean, I've been on it since Chromatica, since the pandemic. You know, I'm paying attention, blah, 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 blah. Happy for you. I'm happy for you. Did not feel that way about Lady Gaga during the Chromatica days. But now I'm like, okay, again, belt in 2 classes. She's coming after who has it.
Yes.
So I think that this is big for the legacy. Also, being so long into your career and still having good music is a big plus. Yeah,
I thought about 2 things with this project, looking more into her, because again, I haven't really been paying attention in the past decade or so. She's 38 years old. Does she feel older or younger than that? I would say she probably feels older than that.
Yeah, she probably feels older. The fame, like her level of fame was so intense. Like it was early. Like it was so early and so intense that it probably disillusioned her in a way.
And she's from the paparazzi era. Like that was the end of that era. The paparazzi era, I think, changed very quickly going into the 2010s. But the paparazzi era, for those of you who were born in 2004 and 5, the paparazzi era was magnified a lot of the artists of that era, making them feel larger than life.
Yeah.
And she has that song Paparazzi, of course, but she's from that era where that was still a thing. So I think that's a part of it, is like, to be popular in that era and then be popular in this era as well, is huge. But one, her age, I'm like 38 somehow sounds young for her, but old in general. And I realized my previous romantic partner is this age. So now I'm like, does she seem old or young? Now I'm even more unsure.
Her and Drake are the same age.
But that's the other thing I thought of was her and Drake are the same age. And I wanted to bring that up because we talked a lot on Some Sexy Songs for You about Drake's content and his age. And my favorite thing right now is going on is I love that the internet is making fun of people for not being married or having kids at a certain age. Now that really mostly applies to men. No one really brings that to women. In certain circumstances, it does.
Yeah. I would like I would say in your general everyday life, I would say women are getting comments about that much more frequently.
And once in a while, celebrity. I know Halle Berry's gotten some of those comments. Tracy Ross has gotten some of those comments. And it's the only woman of color that I'm naming. Interesting. Yeah. But I do think that this going forward, we have to kind of keep this energy and decide how are we deciding who's too old to say what. Because this album is very like dancey and pop and electro, and I don't think she's too old for that. But it feels like we're kind of changing the idea of who's too old to do what, who's too old to have fun, what's too young to do this. So I want to say it now because we've done back-to-back artists who are around the same age. We said a lot about who is too old to say what. Future has an album on the way.
Yeah.
I'm sure he will be saying a lot of young things on there. But I think at any age, people can have fun and say what they want. I think most of the time, fans are not the age of the artist they listen to. And I learned this early in this business. I interviewed a group, I'm not going to say the group, but they were in their early 20s, and most of their fans who were waiting outside the venue 3 hours before when I interviewed them were 12 and 13 years old.
Well,
and this group were all in their early 20s. And I don't want to say they were annoyed by this, but they didn't want their fans to be 12 and 13.
Yeah.
But that's just how it happened. That the music they made, that's where it landed. That's what it is. I think the same goes for even artists at Lady Gaga's age, where your fans may not be your age.
Yeah.
And you're not making music for people your age. So going forward, let's just have more grace for artists of all ages and allow them to have fun and say whatever they want.
Oh my God, the future apologist has logged on.
Well, it's not just for everyone. This is for everyone because I just feel like it almost feels unfair. Like all ages are. It's like this 38 is not the same as this 38. This 40 is different than this 40. So I just want everyone to be allowed to have fun, say whatever you want in your music. We're not gonna shame you for whatever age you are. If you want to be married, be married. If you don't, you don't. That's what I want us to all have grace going forward because the internet's in a crazy place right now.
I love that ending. I think that you're right, and I think this will probably take further dissection to really understand why we're like Drake needs to evolve in what he sings about. But does anybody really think like what is the next, if she releases music, what would the next Rihanna album be about?
Yeah.
And then you're thinking about, okay, Lady Gaga. I would say that song, like, again, Perfect Celebrity is like, that is like I've been a celebrity for a very long time. Here's how I feel about that type of song. But then you have somebody like Kendrick Lamar, which is he's rapping about on his latest album, stuff that is like really close to his family, life experiences and such. So it can vary. Like Miley Cyrus, who is, I would say, early 30s.
Yeah, she's 31.
Yeah. She is still in a party-esque phase, but then you have somebody like Justin Bieber, who's literally the exact same age. I think he's very much in his God bag, in his husband bag. So everybody's at different stages of life in their 30s. It seems in this era of humanity, I feel like people are aging slower in like the developmental steps in which they go through certain things in life. So we could be seeing that play out a little bit. We are seeing that 1,000,000% with Drake.
Yeah.
And somebody like Lady Gaga, maybe it's happening to her a little bit as well. I don't know. That's an interesting thing we need to like think a little bit more about that, to be honest, I think.
And before we talk about the cover, I'm just going to reiterate this quote that I've said on past podcasts. But they say this about jail and they say this about celebrities. The day that you go in is the age that you stay.
Yeah.
And I always think about that in two ways. One, Bobby Shmurda went to jail when he was 19. If you've seen Bobby Shmurda on the internet now, he's acting like he's 19. And then they say the day you become famous or the age you become famous is usually the age that you stay. And I think about that with Jay-Z's first album coming out when he was 26 years old. And he didn't reach really prime time fame until his early 30s. And so when you see how Jay-Z's behaved as a celebrity over the past 2 decades, it's like when you reach your prime celebrity at age 33, you're probably going to beat us a more mature celebrity in general.
Yeah.
When you reach your prime celebrity at 21, you're probably not going to be as mature as a celebrity. And so I think that's what I'm taking into account with all of these people is what age are they when they reach either like prime wealth or prime celebrity? Because I think in some cases, some of these people are rich before they're famous. So if you were making a lot of money at 20, you're acting a fool most of the time. So I'm taking that into account with a lot of these artists because, you know, if 2007 is when Gaga's first album came out, that is, you know what?
Almost 20 years
18 years ago. Yeah. She's 38, so that would be when she's 20. It's impressive in a sense that she's, you know, remained sane. Throughout that time. Talking about the cover,
Michael Jackson vibes. Scream?
Definitely, yeah. It's 100% the Scream cover.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we're so far removed from that time that there are so many people who probably don't even know that reference.
Yeah. They probably don't. They're like, "What do you mean Scream by Michael Jackson? What do you mean?" Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson, his sister. Did you know that?
Yeah. That's crazy. But it's like that kind of makes me feel almost old in a sense.
Yeah.
Scream came out in 1995.
Yeah. My mom's a huge Michael Jackson fan, so I've been exposed to Michael Jackson his music since birth. Yeah, effectively. Yeah. So as soon as I saw this cover, I'm like, that's just like Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson.
Even the hair.
Yeah, even the hair, the black outfit, like because they wore like these spiky outfits.
The outfit is almost one
it's almost the exact same.
And the black and white as well.
So we might.
This was Michael's last album, History.
Yes. So on Sound Bites, we might be talking about a potential lawsuit.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh, not another one. But I think I like the cover, but I can't remove myself from seeing
Scream. It literally looks exactly like the music
video. It looks
video.
like you took the music video and turned it into an album cover.
Yeah.
And why I'm mentioning it is because, again, we are at a time in the world where there are so many people who have opinions online who are seeing this, who have no recollection, no understanding, no even idea of what Scream is, where she can even get this off. Because I think if this was 2005 or even 2010, we're like, no, can't do that. You know, and it's like Michael Jackson died in 2009. So that's how long it's been that she can just make this her cover. And this is not a discourse. There's no think pieces. It's not like, that's my thought from this cover is like, it's not a bad cover. It's good, but how far are we removed from the great 90s?
The late, great Michael Jackson.
Where this can just be a non-starter because that's all I can see. The cover is good, but all I can see is you wearing the same fit. It's that's Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, the hair teased in the similar way as Michael. And then the black and white. And it looks like she's wearing a glove too, if I see correctly.
I don't know. I can't really fully tell what that is.
But it looks like she's wearing a glove, so yeah. But the thing is, I don't want to have her be docked points for this.
Yeah.
For all the ones who are old enough to know what we're talking about. For all you who are too young, stop the podcast
and just watch Scream.
Go watch the Scream video. Come back to us. But Michael Jackson has a huge influence on basically anyone involved in the arts.
Yeah.
Not just music, dance, film as well. So for her to be a huge Michael fan and want to copy him, it's like Michael is like a rarefied air where it's like, it's okay. We're okay with it. We let the Weeknd do it.
Yeah.
We're okay when Offset did it. Lady Gaga, you're fine.
Yeah, I think I like the cover. I think the cover looks cool. I don't add or dock points for the cover unless like the cover is like it's like symbiotic with the music, and then I'm like, oh, this is actually an incredible packaging of just everything overall. But I don't, subtract or add very much, if any, when it comes to the cover. I just think it looks exactly like Scream, and it's a little slight ripoff, a little bit ripoffy.
More than slight, but yes,
a little bit ripoffy. Okay, do you think it's a no skips?
Not technically.
Okay.
I think it could be a no skips. Like there's not a song on here that's so egregious where I'm like, you have to skip it.
Right.
But this is not no skips by our original definition.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's a no skips either. I think that Abracadabra, even it's so weird. Like again, I love Abracadabra except for the hook. But there's that, and I think that Blade of Grass is very skippable. You know, we never really talked about Die with a Smile. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. What about Die with a Smile stands out for you now that you've heard the whole album? Because I think
that's a great question.
I liked the song originally. And again, it feels like a Bruno Mars song from early in his career that Lady Gaga is just on. But I actually like it as the outro.
Yeah, me too.
And it's rare that an outro is someone's lead hit single. Like, that's not a thing that happens often, but I think it fits as an outro.
Yeah, I think so too, because it kind of really slows down everything. And it's like, this is the end. This is like the credits rolling for the album. I think the songwriting is immaculate. I mean, when I say immaculate, I mean like this is, if you listen to it on a right night or a wrong night, it's a tearjerker, I think.
Yeah.
You know, okay, let me just give you, let's give everybody I think this is the chorus. So I'm gonna love you every night like it's the last night. Like it's the last night. If the world was ending, I'd want to be next to you. If the party was over and our time on earth was through, I'd want to hold you just for a while and die with a smile. If the world was ending, I'd want to be next to you. Bruh, again, catch this song at my wedding. Thank you very much, because that shit is going to be playing.
It's going to be a tearjerker.
And yeah, I don't know. I just love that track. I love that song. I just absolutely love everything about it. It's one of those slow songs that I really adore. Songwriting fantastic, singing fantastic. Bruno Mars, brilliant. I don't really know how else to say. Like Bruno Mars, like if you really look at the discography number for Bruno Mars, the amount of songs that he has out is minuscule compared to his contemporaries, but every song is just a banger.
No, Bruno Mars is a go. I've said for years he may be the most underrated person in music history.
Yeah.
Even though he's obviously a huge star.
Yeah, but he's not in the discourse. You know what I mean?
He's not mentioned enough because he's had hits. And no, this is a total aside, but in 2010, his album Doo-Wops and Hooligans. When I heard some of the B-sides on that album, I said, this guy has B-sides too? From then, I was like, okay, let's not play with Bruno Mars. Let's put some respect on his name. Demar, what do you have for a score for this album, Lady Gaga, Mayhem?
For Lady Gaga's Mayhem, I'm going to say it's a 7.5 out of 10. I think this is very good. Not great, but very good. Lady Gaga, the very good. I think that songs like Die With a Smile, again, I love that song. That's probably one of my favorite songs ever. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, I can see that for
sure. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs ever. So well written. A lot of the production on this is very good. Like, I like the guitar solos in the middle of a couple of tracks. I like the 80s style production. I have to dock, or I don't have to, but I'm docking points because I'm like, it's very 80s, like extremely 80s to the point of like, it feels like she was updating. Like, I would agree with what you said, where it feels like she took her old sound and updated it, but it's really like retroactively updated it or something. You know what I mean? Because it's like 80s sound, but updating, So that is, I'm docking it a little bit, but I still think the production is really good. I think the songwriting in general is very solid on a lot of the tracks. I think the Abracadabra reverse, like the hook not being good, but the rest of the song being amazing is really odd.
Very.
And because she's so good when it comes to the chorus. That's so bizarre to me. That is such a weird song to me. I can't get over it. And then
maybe it'll grow on you.
Yeah, maybe. And then A Blade of Grass, I just feel like put the piano away. And I don't say that ever, really. I love a piano. But it didn't fit. And I felt like it kind of hurt the cohesiveness overall. What about you?
This is not the first time this happened on this podcast, but we're in the exact same spot. 7.5 for me, for Lady Gaga's Mayhem. This is a really good album.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the probably best put together albums we've had in a long time. in terms of what the attempt seemed to be and what it actually became.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a project that is very, very pop without feeling very much in the center. I think that's what makes the album so good, because usually we don't have an album that feels so pop that is so centered, which I think, go back to Harry Styles' album. It felt almost too much in the center.
Yeah.
Where we were like,
is this a commercial?
Yeah, the whole album like a commercial. And I think this is to me is the good version of pop. Pop has gotten a bad name over the past decade in terms of people thinking pop, this means it's mainstream and bad. This is a good version of what pop can and could be. So to me, 7.5. This feels like a project that could go up in ranking, hearing it later on in the year, because it's still early.
Yeah.
We are in March, but what are the better albums of the year so far? I'll say so. 7.5 for me. I want to hear what everyone's score is. Let us know in the comments on YouTube. Are you guys new to Lady Gaga completely? Are you new to Michael Jackson completely?
Yeah.
Are you new to Janet Jackson completely?
Yeah, it's like, did you know that they were siblings?
Yeah, that is crazy. Anyways, I don't even want to entertain that could be true. I don't even want to think we're in a world where someone could not know that. I know it's possible, but I don't want to live in that world.
Uh-huh.
But let us know in the comments, what do you guys think about this album? Are we rating it too highly or too low? And your favorite Lady Gaga song from any era, okay? And you cannot include songs from a film, okay? No songs from any films.
Okay.
But favorite Lady Gaga song, let us know in the comments. You can find us on the interwebs at Album Mode Pod on Twitter, Album Mode Pod on TikTok, Album Mode Pod on Instagram, and all our podcast listeners, okay? Hop over to YouTube, subscribe to us, like, leave us a comment, and hit that bell button so you can see all notifications when we post. And until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Later days.